Welcome to the Existential Empath Podcast. My name is Tanya, and I am an intuitive empath. My intention is to share valuable tips, tools, and techniques that I have learned so you can tap into your own inner healer naturally and intuitively. Welcome back, everyone. Today I have guest Djali Vesela. Djali is a clairvoyant master healer and mindful energy coach. She utilizes her knowledge of cognitive behavioral therapy, mindfulness, compassion, and clairvoyant studies to help people access their intuition and improve their overall well-being. Djali's signature energy clearing group and clairvoyant intuitive workshops teach people how to intuitively align with their purpose in their personal and professional lives. Djali has worked with people from Fortune 500 companies, such as the Council of Europe and Google. She has partnered with Gaia TV's Dr. Lauren Cielo in his Golden Rose Psychic Services, teaching clairvoyant and energy healing classes for his internationally renowned school. Welcome, Djali. That is quite the resume.
Yeah, it is, right? And I haven't even been doing it that long. I've been doing it just for 7 years and not the full-fledged clairvoyant stuff even. So yeah, I've been lucky.
So this is going to be a fun show. Anytime we can talk about our intuitive abilities, I get really excited. So you and I are going to talk about clairvoyance today and how can we strengthen our natural psychic abilities. So Djali, I think first, let's talk about energy and what energy is, because I do feel that in order for us to understand our own natural intuitive abilities, we have to have a deeper understanding of what energy is. So Djali, what is energy?
Yeah, I think that people don't realize actually how important it is to understand that there is energy and that we are energy and all of it is energy. And it comes down to that. And when we have kind of nailed that, then everything is way easier. So it's not even about consciousness, because to me, consciousness is energy.
Yeah,
so,
it's all energy. Everything and nothing is energy, right?
Right. Yeah. So I believe where if it was a Big Bang or something before that, there was some move in the universe that something wanted to do more. And that's where our bigger energy burst started. Hence, science saying, well, there was a Big Bang.
And boom, here we are, stardust, we're created.
Yeah. So there was the consciousness going like, oh, let's do something bigger. Let's do something more fun. Let's do something more tangible, maybe with colors, like your background if someone's watching us on YouTube. So all that. And then slowly, from our human perspective, humans got into the whole game by going like, okay, let's make bodies where we throw the consciousness into, which is the conscious energy, and let's see what they do. If they have eyes and they taste things, and if they actually can have like cheating sex, maybe. Let's see if they're still going to be so noble once they are in the bodies.
Yeah, we're creating our little avatars, right? It's like, okay, our higher self is like, let's create our little avatar. I think I'm like 5'11", almost 6 foot. I think I created a big avatar because I knew I had a big consciousness coming in.
Oh, wow. Okay, I never thought about that because I'm quite short. I'm 5'5". And I never thought about like why I'm this high, besides the whole partnership logic that I'm in advantage of, like, okay, I can date tall guys and shorter guys too. But I never thought about it from the perspective of my higher self going like, oh, so this is about like the zillionth time, because I had many lives. So I'm like, so why did I choose like this body this time? I didn't think about the beauty of it. I was like, thank you. Yeah, this is good this time. But I never thought about the height.
Yeah. So I don't know. I always say that I'm like, I had a lot of light to cram into this little avatar. So I created a really tall one.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I need to check in with my higher self, like what we are doing with this height here.
Djali, let's talk about, how do we learn energy? How do we tune into it? How do we master it? How do we utilize it?
So there are lots of ways to do that. I would say the first one is realizing that everything is energy. And when we go thinking things, energy goes moving. So as if from the human perspective, the center of our head, our pineal gland, if you want, or the third eye chakra, is like a driving seat of energy for this world quite a bit. Now, saying that, also animals and plants do it too from different perspectives, but us humans are quite powerful. So realizing that what is going on in your head drives energy, and hence the whole double slit experiment you would have in quantum physics, or the observers phenomenon, like when you are observing, things are still happening. When you are not observing, they're happening differently, but we have no way to prove it because we are not observing. So when you go realizing that, so that's already you tuning into energy. You realizing that energy happens even when you are not doing stuff, but also you thinking is driving energy. So that would be the first step, I would say, for most people. What do you think?
Yeah, because it starts with our thought, and then we tag on the emotion with it, which really puts the feeling behind it. And then when we speak it out into existence, that's like a broadcast, an amplifier, right? So it's all energy based, and our thoughts are energy, our emotions are energy, we are energy, and so I think just having a deeper understanding of that will allow us to understand our intuitive abilities much easier. So let's dive into intuition, Djali. What is intuition?
So intuition is information first within you, and then when you go further, if you are lucky enough, probably if you're listening to us, then you're lucky enough. Then you also get the energy, download the energy from the outside. So the inner energy, I would say, is the energy, or the intuition of energy is from the body. So what the body knows, what it experienced, not only in this lifetime, but also in previous lifetime. I remember me being a small girl lying in my bed and kind of like being amazed by this body, going like, wow, okay, so these hands are growing. And then I remember that the palate, it has little ridges, right? So when you touch with your tongue onto the top of your mouth, so there are ridges. And I remember, now this was intuition, right? Because I can't have known that the ridges go fading away as you age.
Interesting.
Right, because as you eat and stuff happen to your mouth, basically not that everything stays the same. It kind of falls out of shape. So that's your body intuition, either from this lifetime or previous lifetime. From this lifetime, it could be something like you're falling asleep and you may suffer from insomnia, and your intuition is, well, not really good one, don't go tuning into that. I will not fall asleep if I'm thinking here.
True. It's very true. So tuning into our intuition or our internal guidance system can really enhance our lives. And, just learning how to listen to our body. And this is what I teach a lot on my show, is how to tap into your own inner healer naturally and intuitively. And a huge component of that is listening to our body and listening to that subtle guidance system, that subtle voice within inside of us that is actually telling us where to go, what to do for a better well-being. But we've been disconnected from that, through humanity, through our social systems, whatever it may be, we've been disconnected. So many of us are learning how to reconnect to our intuition.
Correct. And that's really what gives us the upper hand in being able to manifest and being able to have the fun life. And that's why I like your show, because loads of the shows we have out there's lots of metaphysical shows. And I'm so happy for that, because I didn't even know there were so many until I started tapping into it. I was like, oh, that probably doesn't exist.
You manifested it.
Yeah, true. That's true, maybe. But your show goes actually clarifying that if you go tuning into intuition, you go finding the inner healer, and us being aware goes creating or recreating the inner healer, which lots of people are like, oh, I can't heal. I need a person for that.
No.
Well,
and I just did a show about that yesterday, about how ascension symptoms are belief systems. It's something outside of us. We're focusing on the energy outside of us versus drawing our attention within ourselves, because we're divine beings. We are amazing, and we can heal, we can create, we can attract, we can do these amazing things in our lives. So let's get to the juicy part of this show, because, I think understanding energy and intuition is the foundation, but let's talk about clairvoyancy. So you're a clairvoyant. What is a clairvoyant?
So a clairvoyant, I would say you have two kinds of clairvoyance if I want simplifying it a lot. One of them would be innate, that they kind of do understand, they were born with it and they go working with the gifts. So they go, whether reading professionally or helping their family, friends, and maybe healing as well, because clairvoyance, what people don't realize, can come and should come with healing, because once you can see energy, you can move energy, you can tell people about energy, and you can make everything way easier. And then you would have formal trained clairvoyance, and you can have the combo of two as well. But either way, it is heightened intuition. It's something we all have had, for most of us, until the age of 12. That's where kind of it goes fading away if we hadn't haven't done some training, if we haven't had parents maybe who are into this. I have these beautiful students now who are teaching their kids how to be clairvoyant.
I love that.
Right. And I'm like, and grandparents, I also have students who are like in their 50s, 60s, 70s. So they go telling me, so when they come in, we go playing clairvoyant games.
So like, Djali, let's clarify this. Is everyone clairvoyant?
So no, not everybody is clairvoyant, but everybody can be clairvoyant. And everybody was to an extent clairvoyant until they were 12. So we did have the heightened intuition, but because of the programming, because of the culture of teaching, really, most of us have, it wasn't really important, was it? It wasn't like, hey, go and read your uncle's energy. Go and read the energy of your teacher and the class you take in. Oh, go and pick the next subject at school based on clairvoyance. So, go and tune into the energy of that. Well, no one told you that, right? The best my mom told me, and that was quite smart. She was like, so when you're not sure what to eat, close your eyes and imagine how it's going to taste.
That's really nice. So you were being taught that at a young age. And so it's kind of like the way I explain it. Not everyone is an accountant, but they can learn to be an accountant, right? Not everyone is a construction worker, but they can learn to be a construction or a contractor, right? So it's an ability within inside of us, but we have to foster it, right? We have to relearn it sometimes, because many of us, I know as a child, I was highly sensitive, highly clairvoyant, and I shut that off at a very young age because I was seeing things I wasn't necessarily wanting to see, and it was really scary for me as a child. And so now, as an adult, I'm a little bit more. I'm in a different mindset now. I understand energy, I understand intuition, I understand my own abilities to not want to see things if I don't want to, and I can call them in if I do. So Djali, let's talk about psychic abilities. What are psychic abilities?
I would say psychic abilities to me are the same as clairvoyant. I think we use the word clairvoyant just because there is a certain taboo about being psychic.
Yes, so, I agree.
Yeah. Yes. I would say maybe if I think psychic, the first thing I would think of is someone being able to read something really quickly, being able to tell you, okay, so this thing is at, in your house, you going to meet this person this day and time, you wearing this underwear.
Yeah. And so when we talk about seeing things, how do you utilize your clairvoyant abilities? I know for me, I see things within my mind's eye. I don't necessarily see, say, an apparition standing out there. I don't see, sometimes I see auras. It depends on the energy where I am. But tell us a little bit about how when you say you read or you see, how does that work for you?
So one thing I get from people, say when I go into social gatherings, people go like, read my aura.
Yeah. Tell me my future. That's what I get all the time. Yeah.
I don't get that, fortunately, but the people who mock me, they go like, okay, so how do I win a lottery? So we don't do that because of free will, even though we probably could if we mocked it up, if we manifested it. But yeah, so me as well, I don't see too much energy outside. If I wanted, I probably could. Sometimes I do it for the fun of it. Now, because of the nerd mind I have, I'm also studying, after the years of clairvoyant studies, transmedium studies that are 5-year long, and you're learning tricks like that. You're learning how to, say, see a person in the room who is telepathic, or who's the most telepathic in the room. And then you go playing a game with them and you go saying, okay, so yeah, how about you lift the fork? And free will of that
Telekinesis,
person.
right? Telekinesis. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or
No,
bending
well,
spoon. When I learned my remote viewing, they taught us how to bend spoons with our mind. And I practiced it and I did bend it a little bit, but I had people in my class who were really bending it. So these are all abilities. It's just us kind of putting our focus on something,
yeah.
right? And putting our attention on it. Very similar to when we manifest. It's putting a focused attention on something. Yeah.
Correct. And with the matter, we go proving that it's possible to do it also to a body. There was a pranic studies I studied as the first energy thing I did. And part of it, when you go advanced, you can actually do beauty pranic healing. So you can help people lose weight. You can help people de-wrinkle. And I was like, okay, well, that's like a spoon, right? You just go doing it on a body.
Uh-huh. Yeah, no, you're right. Because it's all energy, right? It's all energy. And so, Djali, how, can you share a tool or a tip that could help people enhance their clairvoyant abilities?
Yeah, totally. So there is two things I could probably share. So if you want to go outside, you can go and have a look at somebody's aura. You can ask basically the energy field, and that's where it starts. You go asking, you do setting the intention. You actually want to get amused by the, well, what is it when you aren't happy about it? The resistance that you have. That was the word I was looking for. Your resistance going like, yeah, I can't see anybody's aura, because it's true that everybody is more or less clairvoyant. You may have other clair gifts. You may be more claircognizant, knowing that that's me. I just download a lot. But anyway, you can go and ask the energy field, okay, show me this person's aura. And then to make something out of it, you go asking, okay, show me where the aura is imbalanced. And then you will see or know dimples or congestions. And then you can go ahead and ask the energy field, or if you have any guides or angels, you can ask them, okay, can you align this person's aura? Now, this you can do also without a permission of the person, because you're meaning well, right? Unless you're trying to do something not good for the person.
That's great, because I do that too. I connect my higher self with their higher self and say, hey, can we make this happen? All right, let's do it,
There you go. And then you will see within seconds that something happens to the person, depending on how tuned they are to their own energy world, to their higher self. But usually there'll be something like, well, they look like they got a little cheer up or something like that.
They morph into an angel. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Yeah. Then you can go ahead and play with objects in your house. You can go and put your hand above the object and go and feel the energy of it. It's very easy to do with food. I teach it to people when they're trying to bring their energy vibrations up, because that makes you more clairvoyant, more intuitive, and kind of checking the food you're supposed to buy or you're supposed to choose from. So you put your hand above it, and where you get bigger energy resistance, there's more energy, there are high vibrations.
Oh.
Where your hand kind of drops down, there isn't much going on, so you don't want to eat that as much.
Interesting. It's almost like it's kind of siphoning your energy a little bit if your hand is being pulled into
Correct.
it. And Djali, I do that over my food. I actually hold my hands over it and raise the frequency of my food before I eat it. There's a reason why we've been taught to pray before we eat, and it's really about expanding the frequency, right? Increasing the frequency of the food and in the company around us that that we may be with when we're having a meal.
Yeah, people don't realize it, and especially it's important when you are conscious of it, because sometimes we do it out of habit. If you had been praying your whole life, or maybe you learned it at a retreat, yogis do it a lot because it's an old Vedic tradition to do that. But you need to be present with that, really being grateful for the food and smell the food. I like to kind of bring the plate to my face a bit. It looks a bit weird, and I go sniffing it for a second. This is great. Oh, thank you. And
that's the European in you, girl. In the States, when I went to Europe, people when I was in Greece, they relish their food. They take the time to make it with love, and they just put a lot of love and feeling and energy into the food. And you can taste that in the food. And in the States, I feel like it's like you do a drive-through and you just eat it in the car, and you aren't really taking the time to consciously appreciate the food, to send love to the food, to send love to yourself for, allowing yourself to have this food. And so I love that. I think it's great that you're bringing that up, because these are little things that we can do, things that we take for granted, especially here in the States.
Yeah, that you can do every day to really increase the vibrations of your everyday objects. Because yeah, to be honest with you, you do have to be quiet at least, well, in my case, 20 minutes a day to work energy. So it's not just that you come to my course and you learn it and then you forget it. It's like any skill, it's like any gym. You need to keep doing it. You need to keep flexing that muscle. But to be also able to bring it into your whole day, there are these little things when you actually go feeling your food or feeling the person next to you, that you can decide if you want to hang out with or not. If it's like a social gathering, or maybe it's a date, or maybe it's like a family thing, that you can decide if you want to be sitting next to the person or not. And that's where you can use energy. That's where you can actually use your inner clairvoyant, whether it's fully awake.
Yeah. And I've done that before. If I know I have to stay in a hotel room, I've actually sent healing, clearing energy to the hotel room to clear the room before I even arrive. And that's been amazing. And I've actually had one time I did it and my friend was like, gosh, this room just feels divine. It just feels so bright and cheery. And I'm like, no worries. I'm like, I sent it, I sent some energy to clear it before we even got here.
Yeah, my rooms are like that. That's what my word is like. Welcome.
Yes. And we have those abilities because we're divine beings and we can tap into those. And I like how you said, I call them the clairs, clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, and how some of our clairs are stronger than others. And I know for me, like I said, as a child, my clairvoyance was very open, but I shut that down. And I also worked in healthcare around death and dying in my 20s and 30s. And so I was seeing a lot of spirit activity. And so I literally wrote down on a piece of paper, I don't want to see these things anymore. I don't want to see apparitions. And this was probably in my early 30s. I did this. And then now I actually wrote down on a piece of paper, okay, this is what I am okay with seeing. This is what I want to experience. Auras. I want to see, the energy on people. And so I think we have the ability to set boundaries as well. So let's talk about that, because I think sometimes when we set the intention to open up our third eye, or we set the intention to be clear, to access our clairvoyant abilities, we start seeing a whole bunch of stuff that scares us and we immediately want to shut it down. So Djali, can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, totally. So that's one of the reasons why I think when people go learning about me and want to do what I do, or maybe just become more intuitive, because that's where they start with becoming intuitive, and with that being able to access their own healer. So one of the boundaries I can feel is the whole like, okay, but what everything do I open up to? What do I become?
Yeah.
Right. And it's true that some people do it. I had a client recently who went to Mexico. I have lots of clients in Mexico. This is a Czech client going to Mexico. Really funny. And and she goes doing the mushrooms, and she goes doing the what is it called? Albufera.
Ayahuasca.
Not ayahuasca, but the frog poison thing. And she wasn't ready for that, honestly. Unfortunately, with the way she set up, it didn't really do any harm, because lots of people can actually feel harm after, especially if they had been depressed and suffering from anxieties. Because when you take these things in, and by that I'm not saying don't take it in, you open up to all kinds of vibrations. You open up, but also to all kinds of vibrations. And if you don't know how to deal with it, and if you don't know how to integrate it later, you can't really take the benefit from it. Yeah. And it can harm you. So that's something that's really important to realize. So if you're doing something like that, then you should have someone who is very experienced and gives you integration before and after. And by after, I don't mean 2 days. You actually need someone's support for like 2 weeks, and a recipe of what came out of it after. So there will be your protection in these kind of situations. I do love how you put on the paper whatever you are opening up to, because lots of people underestimate the power of putting something down.
Yeah. And it's similar to manifesting. You put down what you want, or what you would like to create more of in your life, not what you don't want more of, right? So most people, and I learned this the hard way, I don't want to see apparitions at the end of my bed at 3 a.m. I don't want to see this and that. Well, that just opened up me seeing spirits at the hospital at noon, so really what I said, okay, this is what I would love to experience. I would like to experience seeing auras. I would like to experience being able to tune into people's energy more. And boom, I started to create this in my reality. So when we look at activating our intuitive abilities, it's really important to also understand the law of attraction and the manifesting process, because we are divine creators, right? We are powerful master beings, and we create what we think about the most. We create where our energy is focused the most. So for example, I was really into paranormal stuff a few years ago. Well, I started to notice I was attracting a lot more paranormal activities into my life. And it was because my subconscious was being trained to see ghosts, to interact with them. They were speaking to me more. They were doing this. Well, it got overwhelming. And I'm like, oh, so then I started to shift. I'm like, no, I'm not going to focus on that as much anymore. And then I noticed that started to fade away a little bit. And so our intention and our focus is powerful. And so we've got to keep that in mind when we are activating these abilities.
And I love you saying the negative things. Don't put down the negative things, right? With any affirmation as well, you want to be putting down what you want and in the present time. So you don't want to be putting, I don't want any ghosts coming into my house.
Which is what I did the first time. And then I had them showing up in my office at work.
Yeah. Because people ask me that. People are like, okay, so you saw clairvoyant, I can read the dead people. I can, like go into a bunch of past lives if you want. Actually, I've had this weird thing. I can go into different dimensions. I don't even understand what it is yet, but I go seeing, people's lives and connections in other dimensions. And they go saying, okay, but don't they bother you in your house or like, during your walking day? I'm like, well, you know what? They don't. Every now and then it does happen that there is like a queue of beings that go fiddling with my internet.
Yeah, they like to fiddle with our electronics.
Yes. But it's usually me not listening to the energy field in the way I should be for myself. And it's kind of like, take a break. And
yeah, they're looking out for you. And, that happened to me, Djali, when I went home. My grandmother had passed away and I went home to stay in her old farmhouse for about 6 months, by myself. And I could feel her presence, and she was messing. This was a joke, because before she passed, I had told her, how are you going to haunt me, Grandma? And she goes, well, I'm going to make you laugh. Well, she was messing with my wireless, my phone, everything. And it was hilarious because I knew it was her. I didn't see her, but I could feel her energy and I knew it was her. And, it's funny. I had a friend stay with me and he's like, I saw an apparition outside the window. And I'm like, I didn't see the apparition, but I could sense and feel energies very close to me. So now I'm learning that when I feel an energy, I ask them, okay, hi, I feel you here. Who are you? Tell me a little bit about yourself. Then my clairaudience picks up, hi, I'm so-and-so, and da, 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 da. And then oftentimes my clairvoyance will come after that. So it's almost like this tiering effect that happens with me, with my clairs. It's like clairsentience is the most powerful for me. Clairaudience is next, then clairvoyance. Then I've always had claircognizance like you, just that divine knowing. I'm like, how do I know this? How do I know in ancient Egypt they did this? And, so I like that we're talking about this, because I think people just think once I turn it on, it's going to be on Niagara Falls. It's just going to be like flowing out. And it's not always like that. I've had to really work to develop that ability, but it's still not on 100%. I'd say it's probably on 40%, right now. Yeah,
I would say it's definitely like where you set the intention, and you do need to acknowledge the fears as well. Because if you don't acknowledge the fear, okay, I'm really afraid they'll be bothering me past my opening hours. I had one student who would go saying, okay, there's someone like in my wardrobe. I was on the bed with my husband, and the husband goes like, tell them you are past the opening hours. And it was I was like, yes, that's exactly what you have to do. Tell them you are past the opening hours. And that's what I do as well. I have like 2 days a week that are my digital detox. So I don't really do any energy stuff. And exactly when I go to a social gathering and people go like, can you read my aura? I'm like, no, I'm not working.
I'm off. And I think that's something to understand too. When you open up your clairvoyant abilities, the other, those beyond the veil, they have no space. They have no space and time. They have no sense of that. So oftentimes they could be waking you up at 3 a.m. because they have no idea. That's when they notice you're relaxed and that you're open to receive the information that's coming through. That's why many times I wake up at 3:33 in the morning and I have a massive download and I'm creating a podcast. That's what happened to me last night. I could not fall asleep and I felt my guidance team telling me, you need to do a show about ascension symptoms. I'm like, okay, just get it out of me. And then the moment I did, I fell right asleep. So it's kind of funny how that happens. It's because if we're distracted throughout the day, we may not notice the energies around us, but it's when we're in those subtle moments, you know, maybe you're in nature sitting next to a quiet stream and you're just looking around at, you know, the plants and you're noticing an aura around them. I don't know, Djali, if you've ever seen the movie, The Celestine Prophecy, but it's a beautiful movie and it talks about energy. And in the movie, the woman explains different frequencies and how you can see the auras of plants and how literally the people are standing there with all of these military people around them. The military people can't see them because they're all in a different vibration. They're all in a different frequency. And it's so important to understand that we have the ability to shift our vibration and we can change our lives very rapidly in that because it's all quantum, you know? And so I'm loving this talk. Let's dive more into your services. What do you provide for people? You know, you talk about your workshops and all of your teachings. What you know, where can people learn more?
So they can learn more on Linktree. So you go Linktree/Djali Solutions and a DJ Ali, like DJ Ali and Solutions together. That's the Linktree link. Where it's everything aggregated. First is in Spanish, scroll down to English because I do it both in Spanish and English. I have more Spanish speaking followers somehow right now. That will change again.
That's probably why you have clients in Mexico.
Yeah, correct. I have clients in Mexico, Argentina, you name it. And then I'm on Instagram, quite active. Everything is bilingual. Djali Solutions, again, DJ Ali, like DJ Ali Solutions. You can find me there. And what I do mainly is courses. So I do clairvoyant courses where I actually teach you to tune into your intuition. And with that, being able to heal yourself. Yes. And if you want, others. So you also learn how to manifest and you learn how to energy protect. And again, the link for that is in the link tree. There's also a freebie for some of my tips and tips and tricks, if I can say it right, of how to, I think right now there is protection. I change it every now and then. Mm-hmm. And so I do the courses. There are 4 weeks. They go in more levels. You start basically with being able to feel energy, heal with energy, manifest, protect yourself. And then you go in the next round into being able to read energy. And you don't really need to go and become a reader, but you reading energy. So let me tell you something funny I realized only recently. Reading is actually not important. What I read for you is not important. That's your human mind wanting the information. It's a little ego thinking it's
something
important.
Outside of yourself. Yeah.
Yes. What happens to your life? But what happens with reading, you go actually increasing vibrations, you go connecting to your higher self and being more aware, what the heck is going on with this avatar that I am on the earth plane and the higher self or the soul, if you want to call it, wanting me to do stuff. So that's what happens in reading. So the information you get out there is actually not so important. It's kind of fun. But
yeah. I think that's why people like psychic readings so much, because it's fun and it opens up possibilities, right?
Correct. So that's what I do. I do courses a few times a year. They are both in English and Spanish separately, for now at least. And then I do energy clearing groups every now and then. You can find it all in that Linktree thingy. And then I do workshops with tools. So every month or so, I do workshops because I introduce you to tools like the protection tools or like, what else do we have there? Manifestation tools, running energy tools, karma tools. There's just so many. And we usually talk about it once or twice, and maybe we practice some in the class, but some of them we never practice anymore. So that's why we have the workshop. So you can come in there either not really knowing what it is, because I usually make it 90% of them are for everyone, or you have done it already and you need a refresh. I actually love doing it myself because it's a refresh for me.
Totally. I love doing healing sessions with clients because oftentimes I get healed too. It's so wonderful when you're working with energy. And I don't know about you, Jolly, but I literally attract clients. There, I could be having an obstacle in my life, and then I attract clients that have the same obstacle, and then we work through it together. It's so funny.
Beautiful. Yeah. I had the other day. So I'm right now, private information. I'm thinking if to have kids. I have frozen my eggs. And guess what? The client who comes right after I'm listening to this podcast is called Women Without Kids. I was like, what's a cool podcast?
I don't have kids.
Yeah, right. Yeah, there you go. And she comes in, she's my age, and she goes like, so I'm thinking of not having kids. I'm like, wow, okay.
That's so funny. And it's okay if you don't want to have kids. I think that's a societal program too, is that as women, we feel that that's the only reason we're here on the planet is to reproduce.
Yeah, totally. And the last thing I do is coaching. So if you aim for like a life change, either you're completely new to this and you want to tap into energy, see what it can do for you, or you already are some kind of healer and you want me to take you a step further. So I do coaching. There is an application form. Oh yeah, I actually have to put it in English. Now it's in Spanish only. And because I'm fully booked for months ahead, and you can apply to enter the coaching program that's 3 months or longer. And what we do in that, we kind of change your perspective on how you work with energy. We go increasing your vibration, giving you a bunch of tools, and we go kind of updating your daily practice if you have some, giving you a daily energy practice if you don't have some, and making you mindful of energy. That's something I also realize often that people don't get, that you can't just work with energy. You need to be mindful, like with the food, as we talked about. You need to be mindful of how you use it. You can't just go in the going world of like achieving things. You really need to feel it. And I create integration exercises for you. I'm all about you taking it home and being customized for you, so it works for you. It goes changing your life.
Yeah. And being able to apply your teachings to someone's life. And that's so important because I feel like, Djali, you and I, we are empowering people to tap into their own abilities, right? We aren't here to hold your hand through the process. I mean, we're here to offer you guidance and assistance, but there'll be a time when we lift our little wing and we send the little bird out and say, okay, it's time for you to go explore and to go tune into your own intuition. And I get that a lot because I do muscle testing. Okay. So I'll have people say, well, I don't want to tune into my intuition. You just muscle test it for me. And I'm like, no, that's me enabling you, to not learn how to listen to your own internal guidance system. So I love that you offer all these services that provide people with teachings that they can take on with them, and that they can advance their own skills and their own abilities, and they can remember their own unique intuitive gifts that each and every one of us has.
And the divinity that they have is not just me or you, it's them as well. They just haven't got there. So I'm by no way superior to them. I just got to the knowing earlier than they have from the human perspective. And I want them to have it as well, because if all of us are going to have it, then, oh my God, life would be so much more fun, right?
Magical. Absolutely magical, right? And so, Djali, this has been such a fun conversation. Before we wrap up the show, is there anything that you'd like to share that maybe we didn't touch on that would be of value to the listeners today?
Well, I think we didn't touch on what clairvoyance looks like when you looking at it from the inner perspective. So what I do use is we have tools. Well, it's the Berkeley Psychic Institute lineage I come from. And we have tools where we see roses. The rose goes, and you can play with that. You can actually go and think of a person and see the colors the rose shows you with your eyes closed.
Oh, I love that. So does the rose imply their aura, or is that different?
It's basically a message from their higher self, kind of what is supposed to be read, informed about right now, this moment. It could be something else as well, but then you need to be inquiring about basically everything you need to be inquiring about, because, nothing is the same with energy. You can have like a scale of colors that usually mean the same thing, but you want to be verifying that. So that's something that you can do. You can play with, and then you want to ask, like, what is this color? What does it mean this person, is going on, or what is going through, or whatever like that. And then you can do the same when you want to employ healing. So you can close your eyes and you can, from the center of your heart, send some beautiful, I love whitish pink energy. To me, that's the divine love. You go sending it to the person and see how the person receives it. And again, you can see colors, cloud, and all that is information for you. So that is the inner reading that your pineal gland, the organ in the center of your brain, that's able to both read energy and stimulate your hormones that way, in a really nice way. So you're happy a person, give you when you ask that. So go ahead and we can play with that.
Oh, that's an excellent exercise. I love that. I actually had a client that said she sees people in colors. Like she will read a color and then she has an idea of what their personality is like. And I'm like, that's pretty neat. And, so it's like the way we read energy, each one of us is very different and very unique. And I can feel energy. I can immediately sense when I'm in someone's presence. I don't have to see the heaviness. I can feel it immediately. It's like, ooh, I can sense that. But I love how you talked about in the beginning that we can transmute that. We can heal people. And I do that when I walk into the grocery store or I walk into a store. I see just my beautiful golden energy just kind of blasting out of my heart. And I'm just, transcending that energy within whatever location I'm at. And I visualize that in my car when I'm driving. I've just got this golden energy, just kind of blasting everyone around me in a beautiful way, not in an overwhelming way, but in a nice kind of blanketing way. And we have those abilities, and it all starts with our mind and how we visualize and the intention that we set, right? And then pulling the feeling in. And so I think too, Djali, you talk about enhancing our clairvoyance is also going to enhance our manifesting, because it's all in tune, right? All of these beautiful senses that we have, when we bring them all into cohesion or harmony and balance, wow, the things that we can create.
I would say one more thing perhaps that people don't realize. So you saying like the 3 a.m. thing, that means you made time for it. So why things don't happen for us and why we don't develop our energy, clairvoyance or whatever is because, or maybe we feel attacked by the beings, it's because we don't create time to decompress. And that needs to be every day, every week. And I know it's really hard if you are a busy entrepreneur or a mom or a single dad to do that, but to be able to process energy, to go further, not to be bothered by the earth world and being able to use the gifts, you do need to meditate, decompress, not use your phone, and go and plan it. Go and plan for that. And then you are able to actually feel and tune into everything way easier.
And that is such an important reminder. I'm actually on a social media detox right now. Well, I'm not doing personal social media. I'm just doing business stuff. And I've got to say, I've noticed my subscribers have gone up. I've gotten more clients. I'm like, wow, like just funneling my energy more into my business I've seen the results. I've seen things shift. And so I do think that the personal aspects of social media for me were kind of draining me a little bit. And I had to take a step back. So, when we talk about detox, I'm actually putting a show together for this, a multi-dimensional detox. Many of us don't always we think physical detox, but we don't always think social media detox or, those types of things. So I'm really glad you brought that up, because that's just an important reminder for all of us to take a break, disconnect in order to reconnect with your soul self or your higher self. It's so important to disconnect. You don't have to completely disconnect from the earthly world, because we're here in the third dimension experiencing, this wonderful human experience that we're experiencing. But there might be times you've got to turn the volume down just a little bit, right?
Yeah. To be able to receive later, because if there's too much going on, how can you hear everything else, right?
Yeah. The chaos. And I say that, I'm like, okay, my clairaudience is really loud. I need y'all to turn the volume down. And I've had to say that in the middle of the night when I had a lot of activity. It's funny. Now my ears ringing. They're like, oh, I hear you. Okay. Well, Djali, this was so fun. And gosh, I learned some things in this show today. I love this. This was so fun. And I appreciate all that you're doing. And I appreciate you for spending time. I know you're really busy and you have a lot going on in your life. And I know you're going through a period of disconnecting right now. So I do appreciate the time that you spent with us today on the show. And Thank you so much for coming on.
Tonya, it's been such a pleasure. And you guys, if you want to find me, it's either Instagram under Djali Solutions or Linktree/Djali Solutions. That's DJ Ali and Solutions.
Thanks, Djali. You deserve to navigate your life in alignment with health, happiness, and abundance. To learn more about the services that I provide, including Beyond Quantum Healing Hypnosis, EFT tapping, and the Emotion Code, visit my website at www.theexistentialempath.com.